All right, everybody, we're back. Hey, well, it's like it started. All right, everybody, we're back. Yay. I got to check the feedback sometimes on this microphone or maybe turn the volume down. But hey, there are some players I mentioned in the first part of this episode where I'm like, you know what? 4 of those guys I think are worth buying back into at some point in the fall, like October, November. And I think I would be giving you the rest of the story if I said, hey, here's the 4 guys I love as opportunities to save up some money for and buy back in. Or if you want to sell now as the season is about to end and let the card market dip into April, May, June, July, August, September, October, and then buy these guys in November. If that's how you want to play this, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you with these 4 guys: Tyrese Halliburton, Lauri Markkanen, LaMelo Ball, and Jalen Green of the Houston Rockets. Those 4 players, I think, have proven they can score. They can lead a team. They have bright futures ahead of them. Jalen Green's probably the biggest risk of those, but he is unstoppable as a scorer. And it's hard to put a price tag on that. Once they get some like experience, once they get some coaching, once they find out who this draft pick is for Houston, like I think there's so much talent there. But Jalen Green is the scorer among them. Lauri Markkanen is another dude that, like, this isn't just a one-hit wonder, a most improved award, and then he's going to like ride off into the sunset. He's still very young. He's a rookie from 2017. His cards are extremely affordable, not overprinted or overgraded. So Lauri Markkanen, I like a lot. And then I also LaMelo, because his name has been so big and because his game has proven to be NBA dominant. When he's in there, he does all the things. You give him another offensive weapon in this year's draft. Maybe you give him Miles Bridges. Maybe all those other guys can settle back into their roles. You know, PJ Washington, Terry Rozier, Kelly Oubre Jr., all those guys, they're good. They're good supporting cast for somebody like LaMelo Ball and Victor Wembanyama. So let's do this. LaMelo Ball and then Tyrese Halliburton, who just might be the best player we've talked about today. Very, very complete, mature, solid. Sky's the limit for Tyrese Halliburton. But there's 4 players that are on bubble teams that I think are worth some conversation, because what goes up must come down, and sometimes what goes down must come up. Like eventually there's going to be a rebound to some of what these players have experienced. So those 4 players that are still on bubble teams, I'm just going to go through the whole list of bubble players that I did a little bit of research on. And maybe I'll say some more at another time. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, Patrick Williams of the Bulls, who seems like just is frustrating. I don't think he'll ever be what we hoped he would be. Kobe White as well. Scottie Barnes of Toronto, OG Anunoby, Ant-Man Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Onyeka Okongwu started to turn it up lately in the scoring and rebounding world, and Luka Doncic. I could say Kyrie here, but I think he gets enough press. So let me start with Luka Doncic. If that team doesn't make the playoffs, ouch. Ouch. Weren't they in the Western Conference Finals not that long ago? Ouch. You let Brunson walk for nothing. You trade away Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith and Kristaps Porzingis. Like they've let a lot of other pieces leave. And what do they have to show for it? We're looking at starting lineups with Josh Green. Man, he's got potential. Like I'm not knocking these guys. Jaden Hardy, Josh Green, Dwight Powell. We signed Christian Wood, and then we never start him. Jason Kidd's not that great of a coach in his second year with the team, starting to lose his voice. I don't mean like I can't see. I just mean he's losing the team. And you add Kyrie to the mix, and no, Kyrie hasn't. They were already struggling before they added Kyrie. But are they going to keep Kyrie? First of all, like might make the playoffs, but probably not right now. And that's, guys, I'm not a Dallas fan. I've loved parts of or times when they had Dirk and they were so fun to watch. And Mark Cuban's a fun owner to follow. And Luka's incredible. Some of these big game moments in his card market, man, it was already incredible. Hit the mountaintop 2 years ago. And now it's deep down in the valley. And now it's about to go underwater. Like, this guy doesn't make the playoffs. Like, I'm really talking about Domantas Sabonis in the playoffs, but no Luka Doncic. We're going to talk about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in the playoffs already, but not Luka Doncic, and maybe not Trae Young. I just think this is a crossroads for Luka's career. And as an investor, I'm not here for it. As an NBA fan, I believe in him long term, but what more is this guy going to accomplish without a team around him? What good was Jordan without Pippen? How many championships did Michael Jordan win without Scottie Pippen and Phil Jackson? 0. How many chips did Kobe Bryant win without Shaq? Or Steph Curry win without Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Steve Kerr, or Kevin Durant? We need teams. Guys, we need support. I'm like me and Luka and Dwayne Wade. We all need we know that teams win. It's a team sport, and they haven't put a team around Luka. I'm not even sure they've coached him well yet in his years in the league. I mean, he was already advanced and is uber talented, like super player, one of the top 5 or 8 players on the planet. Right. So don't hear me saying anything negative about the guy, except he's going to be golfing in 2 weeks. And that's a shock. Now, what that could say is, okay, yeah, the things you just said about Lamelo and Halliburton, maybe there's a buying opportunity for Luka in 6 months. I'd say absolutely, because there'll be excitement coming into next season. Whatever Dallas does, it'll be Luka, and he's one of the NBA most valuable player favorites going into the year, like Luka, yay. And it's turning out to be like, wait, dude, you're not in the playoffs? And there are other guys that are scoring 30 a night. I don't know if you've noticed, but it seems like everybody's scoring 30 a night. How is Jalen Brunson leading a team into the 5 seed in the East, leading a team that looks scary, and he looks like he could get 40 anytime he wants to, and Luka's staying home? That's not good. That's not good. Maybe Luka isn't who we thought he was. Maybe the Mavericks will never be what Luka needed them to be. Why are we all rooting for Luka in the first place? Because there was hype 3 years ago, and maybe we do need to recognize the value of hype as a guy comes into the league. Yeah. But now that we have a few years looking at that rookie class, we're a few years down the road. Who looks better right now, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander or Trae Young? Luka Doncic or, well, I already said Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, so Mikal Bridges. Oh man, it's just a problem. If you were all in on Luka, and we can look back and say, man, card wise and potential wise and performance wise, incredible. But guys, he's already been there. Sometimes the values of cards don't go up unless that player is doing something new, some new achievement, some new accolades, some new playoff series wins, something new happening to his team. At some point, a guy like Luka has to look around him and say, am I the next Damian Lillard? Am I the next Chris Paul? A guy whose teams show up in the playoffs every once in a while and make a run, but we never did anything. Am I Carmelo Anthony? Guys, I understand that Luke is well-rounded and a triple-double threat every night. I'm just wondering, is he going to win championships? Because here we are in year 4. What is it, year 5? And they're not making the playoffs. That's just a concern. I would not buy Luka right now. I would consider it in November, but we're going to be talking a lot about Luka this offseason. Another guy still on the bubble that I'm like, man, the excitement, the talent, the upside, the card market for Anthony Edwards has been hot all year, and Minnesota might not make the playoffs. but they added Rudy Gobert, but they added Mike Conley, but they're not going to make the playoffs. Now, I didn't buy in a lot of Luka cards, but I am looking over there at some Anthony Edwards cards. I'm like, oh man, that's a concern. Maybe that's a sell now on Anthony Edwards and Luka Doncic and buy back in November. Now, another player that I think has been at the top of card collector and investor lists for 2 years, and I'm not sure I ever got it, but here I am saying once again, Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes in the last 10 games for the Toronto Raptors, who they've had a decent few weeks. They might make the playoffs. It looks like it. Play in at least. They have a chance. But Scottie Barnes has been such a big name, big hype. Oh, got to get the Scottie Barnes graded PSA 10. Scottie Barnes, like, bro, just he's the fifth option on Toronto's offense. The last 10 games, he's the 5th leading scorer on the team. Do you know how many starters an NBA team gets? 5. So Scottie Barnes has one game with 29 points and everybody has a party. Like, wait a minute. It's the 5th leading scorer. Here's another trivia question for you. In the last 9 games, how many 3-pointers? This is a league that's like 3-point heaven. Like, everybody loves 3-pointers. That just fills up the box score. It's on sports. Like, it's a big deal. That's the big moment that people flex about. It's making the big 3. How many 3-pointers has Scottie Barnes made in his last 9 games? 1 3-pointer, Scottie Barnes. I don't get any pleasure out of saying it, but I also look at the card market and the hype and where things have been, and I like going, I'm glad I was never on that train. I'm not sure why anybody would still be on that train. Is Scottie a good player? Yeah. But who's to say he's not the next Michael Kidd-Gilchrist? Who's to say Scottie Barnes isn't the next Tyreek Evans or Brandon Roy, or I don't know. Those guys were actually good scorers. I don't know. Like, part of it's Toronto, right? Part of it's Toronto. They've got Siakam, they've got Van Vliet, they've got OG Anunoby, who some of these guys, if they were the 1 or 2 option on an offense, they could just explode. And Scottie Barnes, man, he's got to be looking at some of these nights Shaden Sharp is putting up, going, I could do that. I could go start for Portland against teams that aren't good and games that don't matter, and I could put up 30 a night. Well, Scottie, like, I have these conversations. I would not buy or forecast or get excited about any Toronto Raptor cards, let alone the 5th scorer. So I'm just saying this as a word of caution. Some dealers, some card collectors, some people still think Scottie Barnes is a big deal or he's a thing. And if you're a Raptors fan, like, that's one thing. Like, if you love him and you said, look at what we did the other night, like, enjoy the game, guys, but don't tell me his cards are going to go up, especially if Toronto misses the playoffs. Yeah, no, but I do need to get to one guy who I think has, actually, there's 2 guys. One guy who I think has enormous upside in this offseason. And he's already had a year of upside. He's already going to be first or second team All-NBA. He's already taken his game to just crazy good heights on a team that is letting him soar. And that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Friends, if Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets into the first round in a playoff series against a team like Denver or like Phoenix or like Sacramento, oh my word. Like, tell me Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not going to average 40 against one of those teams. And his card market, he's going to separate a bit. I'm saying if that guy gets into a series where it's like, go be Michael Jordan, go be LeBron James, go be Kobe Bryant, go be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. That's who you are. And he has been, and he's finally getting to do that. Here's why I'm saying this. Over his last 8 games, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 33.2 points. This is a team trying to make the playoffs in games that matter, beating teams that they shouldn't beat, like Phoenix a couple weeks ago. 4.2 assists, 4.8 rebounds, 52% from the field, 90% from the line. Boom. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I wouldn't buy his cards right now at all. I'm not. I would say, man, I really hope there's another buying opportunity in November or October. You might buy if you believe everything I just said, that Oklahoma City is going to get in. And I'm not saying they're going to win a playoff series. I'm saying he's going to have the kind of playoff series that we'll be telling our grandkids about. I don't know if you have grandkids yet. You probably don't, because you're listening to a podcast. You're watching a YouTube channel. But if you do have grandkids and you're watching all this stuff, kudos. I have a white goatee. What are you going to do about it? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is an awesome player. That's all I got for today, you guys. Next episode, we're going to talk about teams that actually are for sure going to be in the playoffs and the differences they can make in their card markets moving forward, not just for the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but for the next 10 years. There's some big implications. So thank you. Thank you for listening to Hoops and Cards. Hey, today's episode went a little bit longer, but it's because I love you and want to add value to your life as a card collector and investor. Please give me a shout out on Instagram or email me, Gary@hoopsandcards.com. Let us know where you're listening from, @hoopsandcards on Instagram. Excited for these next few weeks, you guys. Can't wait to get to this next episode about players we actually are going to see step up and drain some threes. Peace.